Namo Arihantanam. Om Namo Sittanam. Om Namo Ayariyanam. Om Namo Uvajayanam. Namo Loye Sava Sahunam. Eso Panchanamukaro. Savapava Panasano. Mangalanam cha Salvesim. Paramam Have Mangalam. We're really excited on behalf of the Ahimsa Eco Vegan Committee of Jina to welcome our speakers and panelists and members of the Ahimsa Eco Vegan Committee to this third webinar in our series. This webinar is entitled Moving Away from Animal Experimentation, How the COVID-19 Pandemic Has Shown Us What Scientific Research is Important to Human Health. And we have the video on today for our speakers and panelists. So you will be hearing later on from Dr. Alka Chandana and Shalini Gala from PETA, Dr. Ayesha Akhtar from the Center for Contemporary Sciences, and fellow Jains, leaders in our community, Mohit Jain, also a key member of our Ahimsa Eco Vegan Committee, and Dr. Manish Mehta, who's a leader of several committees of Jaina, who is also going to help us to ask questions and provide some commentary on our presentations. So a little bit of background in case folks want to know a little bit more about this speaker series. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So give me just a minute to do that. And so what is this series of talks? So Jaina is the sponsor of this committee. Jaina is the Federation of Jain Associations in North America, which was founded in the early 1980s. And it's an umbrella organization of 72 Jain centers with the mission to promote the Jain way of life, of which Ahimsa is a key part. It's the largest organization of Jains outside of India with 150,000 members in the US and Canada. There are 32 committees, including the Ahimsa Eco Vegan Committee. And if you look at the logo here, you'll see Ahimsa is a central part of what's in this sort of palm, in peace. And there's something here about nonviolence in thoughts, words, and actions. So this is really, nonviolence in Ahimsa is really central to what we believe as Jains. And the committee that we represent is the Ahimsa Eco Vegan Committee. As expressions of Ahimsa, we support personal transformation, community education, and advocacy for veganism, not eating, wearing, or using animal products, and reducing, eliminating activities contributing to global climate change and destruction of the planet. We have a webpage which you can reference for further information. And we have an email address as well. So our speaker series started in December with a focus on Love and Arms, an American animal sanctuary, and continued in late February with the webinar called Eat Green to Go Green, where we talked about health benefits of a vegan diet, as well as the Jain Declaration on the Climate Crisis. And today, we're very happy to extend our content into animal experimentation. So we've discussed the topic, moving away from animal experimentation, how the pandemic has shown us the scientific research that is important for human health. How did this particular last topic come about? Well, there was a question that emerged in early 2021. So as in the US, the mRNA vaccines, Moderna and Pfizer, started to become available, many thoughtful members of the Jain community began to ask, can vegetarians and vegans take the COVID-19 vaccines? There had been WhatsApp videos circulating about fetal bovine serum. There had been other discussions among the vegan community about whether any vaccine is really vegan. And from my perspective, some of these concerns about veganism, vegetarianism blurred the line into questioning science, which I think is kind of something that we need to address. So as I looked at this a little bit further, my takeaways, which we'll explore further in this webinar, are that information on the animal use in development and manufacturing is sparse. We don't really have a full picture of what's happened with all the vaccines in all parts of the world. We do have a little more information on the ones that are available in the US, Moderna and Pfizer vaccines do not list animal ingredients. However, as I looked at some of the references in the literature about these vaccines, it seems that the cell culture lines used to make these vaccines may utilize fetal bovine serum. And in fact, most of the vaccines used at some point in their manufacturing development utilize some or other ingredient that may be animal derived. Other vaccine candidates may use shark-derived squalene. This was highlighted in a New York Times article that also showed that non-animal alternatives are possible and actually being developed by a particular company based in California that may need to be encouraged further. What we do know is that FDA and other agencies in other countries that regulate drugs and vaccines usually require animal testing. And there are groups that are trying to change this, and we'll be talking to them coming up. So I just went back instead of forward. Here we go. So here is my perspective on the bigger picture of the question about the COVID-19 vaccines. As Jains, we do believe in systematic observation and analysis and consider our practice consistent with science. This is something that we've been saying in our events for a while, that we're a scientific religion. Well, to me, that doesn't mean we embrace everything that the current scientific process includes, but it does mean we believe not in blind faith, but in observation and analysis. What I think that the science shows is that the vaccination is a key to saving lives through ending the pandemic. And as Jains and as vegans, we live in a world in which it's important to choose the most good and the least harm, to try to find the least violent option, and also try to promote our own and public health so that we can do good. So we need to look at the bigger picture about animal testing in the process of development and approval of drugs and vaccines. And that's what our expert speakers are going to discuss and what we're going to highlight in this webinar.